I mean, I just always thought there were guys that were attractive when I was growing up, but I always would be like, oh, I just want to look like them. I just want to, like, I want a six pack or, you know, like I want those muscles. Like I didn't really think in my head, oh, I'm attracted to them physically. Any guys that I was friends with, they were total bros. They were totally like kind of like douchey bros, and I love them, but that's just not what I'm attracted to. So like I never had a crush on my buddy.
Right.
And I think it was just, I was with my girlfriend at the time at the bar, 21 or maybe 20, it was 22. I was 22 years old. So new to like, you know, going out to the clubs. I never really had a fake ID. So yeah, the bartender was questionable, and I could tell there was just some flirtation, and I was in Pittsburgh, so I'm kind of like,
I want to see the whole scene reenacted. So
yeah,
you're at the bar with your girlfriend. Go ahead.
and we are kissing, you know, being like, you know, those cheesy, annoying, drunk couple that's kissing at the bar, and this bartender is just like really a stud, handsome. And this is something I have to watch myself. I always say, oh, well, he came across like as a straight guy.
Mm-hmm.
And this attractive guy, like, you know, he was a bartender, and he was a stud, and I found it odd. I thought he was straight. He was flirting with me, with my girlfriend. And I was just kind of thrown.
Tell me what he said. When you said he was flirting, what was he saying? I want to be there. I want to be there.
He was saying, wow, you guys are a really good looking couple, especially this one. And I was thinking to myself, she loved it because she thought it was hilarious. She thought that was really cute. But I was like, I think she's the better looking one. Or, I was like, who cares? But then I thought that was odd. And then he was just kept staring at me and like making eye contact and kind of smizing, you know, that smirk, like. And I was like thrown for a loop because he's acting very straight, and he looks totally like a straight guy, like probably an actor or something. And yeah, it was just interesting. And then we went back to the bar, but it wasn't because of me. It was because my girlfriend wanted to go back because he was really generous with the drinks. And so it was just funny. And he said something when she went to the restroom the second time. He said, you know, I'm really a little jealous. I wish I could be sitting on the stool next to you. I wish I could be sitting where she is.
He was alpha, okay? He was going after what he was.
And he must, I mean, I am totally myself 100%. So maybe there are these characters and people that have came up over the years, and they probably knew that I was fluid, or they thought like, oh, there's something off about him. He's not totally straight. Or they thought I was probably just going through a phase and was eventually going to come out of the closet.
Right.
And I won't say that is far from the truth, because I definitely really appreciate just feeling comfortable enough in my own skin to just say, you know what? I saw two men in my neighborhood growing up. They had a wife and kids, and they ended up really ruining the family and dynamic in the marriage because they came out of the closet later in life. And not to fault them. I mean, everybody has to go on their journey, and, you know, especially maybe when they were growing up 20, 30 years ago, it was so difficult to identify as a gay man or as a bisexual man. So you just kind of swallowed your pride and you said, well, You know, I really love my wife, whether that be a friendship or a romantic relationship. They just went with it and they wanted to have a family. And then I just saw that and it really affected me that I had to like just do me 100%.
And so was it the bartender experience that made you feel like I kind of liked it? And then that made you, did that open up like the can of curious worms or something?
Yes, because I was attracted to somebody. Maybe it's also too, it's flattering to be hit on.
Mm-hmm.
And then to be hit on by, like, I never was hit on by a guy that I found attractive.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not saying that I'm shallow. I'm just
keeping it real. Hey,
I don't know. And it was growing up in Pittsburgh. I'm sure if I had grown up in New York City or if I grew up in Los Angeles, it would be a totally different story.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So this was the first guy that you were like, wow, he's attractive.
Yeah. And I thought to myself, dang, like, I wouldn't be opposed to this, but once you open up that can of worms, you can't really go back.
Mm-hmm.
Can't retreat. But in the same respect, I was doing my research. I was like talking to different friends of mine who identified as gay and lesbian, and I thought to myself, okay, there's got to be something more to this. There's called, you know, you just experiment. And with women, they experiment in college, it seems to be the case. It's like the coined term. Well, that one time in college, I like hooked up with a girl. You know, and so I was like, well, why does it have to be not okay for me as a male to do the same thing and really see what I liked? And you know, after that one bartender, I realized,
You go and flirt with him? Was he the one? Did you go back and flirt with him, or did you?
So we just kept going. We just kept going back to that bar, and then it was funny. I went with my other two friends, and then they ended up going back. I stayed there and went back to my apartment. Had some fun. Yeah, and I mean, let's be 100%. I didn't tell anybody. I was very private about that experience.
Yeah, because it was something for you.
Right.
You were testing the waters, if you will. You were trying to do like, let me see. I mean, so why would you want to tell anybody anything until you even know? So you had to kind of just like, and it probably was sexier too, making it secret, you know.
Yes, exactly. You're right. You kind of read my mind. I didn't even realize that was the reason. But it was a great time. And then I realized, went back to, I went to Penn State. So I was in Pittsburgh for an internship during the summer, and then went back to university, which was a couple hours away, in the fall. And I didn't really have any interest in experimenting anymore with that. I just felt like I was focused on school, and then, you know, interested in women. It just felt natural to me to be out in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Meeting women. It didn't feel like there was like really any way to meet men, if that makes sense. So, and I wasn't that like thirsty for it. It wasn't like, oh my God, I need to like continue to experiment, or I need to continue to like move in this direction. It was like, oh, okay, well, that was fun. Like, I'll definitely do it again, but there was never like a need for it.
Okay. Did you compare?
Yeah, I think I probably did. And you're really making me think back down memory lane.
Good. Right. I'm very curious.
Yeah, it was definitely okay. Well, one thing for sure. I mean, the like beard on beard action is that was a little rough. That was something that I wasn't used to. But then I was like, wow, now I know what it's like for my ex-girlfriend when I had the stubble, and she was like, gosh, my face is all torn up. So then I was like, okay, now I know what it's like. And I was like, yeah, that wasn't my favorite thing, but it is what it is. It's definitely, it's a different, it's like ice cream. It's like, okay, so that was like Neapolitan, and I'm used to chocolate or vanilla,
How
that was definitely Neapolitan.
were you afraid? Like for your first experience with the guy, was it the same insecurity and fear as it was your first time with a woman?
I'm pretty, I want to like say this in like a non-egotistical way. I'm really confident, and like when I go in, like I'm just like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. And it's funny because I don't necessarily do know what I'm doing, but I think I trick myself. Yeah.
Your first time, you were like, I know what I'm doing?
I think I was just like, oh, well, this is what we're doing. Maybe they were a good teacher.
Oh.
Maybe they were a good teacher.
Both your first time with the woman and the first time with the man? Can you remember your first time?
16 with a woman.
Mm-hmm.
22 with the guy.
So, okay, that was kind of short.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it was just like, I mean, from what I remember, okay, so 16, that's going to be like almost 15 years ago, or it's going to be like 14 years ago. So yeah, I don't know. I was just like super confident, and I thought, okay, that was like, that makes sense. And, wasn't probably like the best, but it was fun. And then, then with the guy, it just was like, okay, well, like he's experienced, so he knows what he's doing. So it's like the same thing, just, different parts.
So were you very confident in that moment, or did you let him lead and did you just kind of take the journey? You seem like the type that just goes for the journey and just let be whatever.
Yeah, I think I was like, okay, this is interesting that I felt like, I don't know, maybe if I like probably saw porn and I just kind of thought, okay, well then, yep, that's pretty much what it is. I don't know. I actually, that's a really great question. And, obviously I think I was a little under the influence, a little buzzed.
Yeah.
So that's always a liquid courage.
Yes.
Yeah. But you're right. That's a really interesting question. I'll have to think about that.
Okay. All right. Think about that. Because see, these are all the things I'm thinking about. I'm all up in your business.
Yes. Well, I mean, there was a funny part of that experience. I was thinking to myself, oh, wow. Like, so they must have been ready. Because I was thinking to myself, I'm like, yeah, like and probably like the way I'm really naive. I'm always thinking like, oh, well, like, flirting, friendly, like who knows what's going to happen? Maybe nothing, maybe something. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm very naive. I'm like, okay, well, I just kind of go with the flow. You're right.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But that being said, the ones that I have met women will be the ones that I meet at these gay bars. I have a friend from New York who got me like one night a week at this gay bar, and it was super fun. I love working there, and that's interesting. I will meet women that'll come in there with their friends, as I mentioned before.
Mm-hmm. So they would come in. So take me through. I like the little story. Take me through.
Yes.
So she's coming in there with her gay friend, and she sees you.
And
then she starts flirting.
She starts flirting, and then I obviously gotta tell her the truth and say, "You're so damn sexy." And what's going on? Like, are you like out for a night like with the guys, or because, you know, are you trying to not be hit on by anybody because you have a boyfriend and this is a safe zone? I always try to figure that out. I'm like, okay, if they got a boyfriend, I'm not trying to be that guy.
Right.
You know? And so that's always my mindset. I'm always like, okay. And I mean, I'm like talking about this one girl because it was recent, like in March, right before COVID hit.
Okay.
Had a great time. So beautiful, so sweet Indian girl. Only problem is she lives in the valley.
Oh yeah, I live in the valley. People do not believe me. I tell my friends from the East Coast, they're like, the way it is, the valley and downtown, there's no dating because nobody wants to be on the 405 or the 101. So a lot of people do not know that is that's a deal breaker.
I will say this is just an example. There was a beautiful girl at a barbecue. So my friend and I went together, and the friend that is, you know, more than just a friend. And I ended up, yes, my friend with benefits. I ended up like kind of getting a little cozy and intimate with this beautiful female. He didn't really mind. When it came to a guy, I think there was a little bit more jealousy.
Interesting.
And I noticed that even with my ex-husband.
Okay. So they okay with you with the woman, but they're not okay with you with the man.
Yeah, and my theory is maybe they just don't really truthfully buy this whole bisexual Franko.
Mm-hmm. They think you're just having fun.
Yeah, they're like, oh, he's just a freak. But little do they know. Maybe they do. I think when you get to know me long enough, they realize like, oh no, it's hard for them to conceptualize. I think it's just difficult for a gay man who's always identifies as gay from an early age. They don't really understand it.
Okay. Well,
or have been intimate with a woman and never really felt much besides, oh, well, that was okay.
And as a bisexual person, do you have to identify yourself as an LGBTQ?
That's a great question. I never felt, and I'll get some backlash on this, but this is my honest truth. I never felt like part of the LGBTQ because I was always like, I thought to myself, oh, I like women and I'm dating women, and like I didn't really even feel like I was part of it whenever I experimented. But then when I married a man, I was like, okay, now I'm definitely part of this community because it is serious. It was just, I don't know. I wasn't into the like trying to like put labels on people, but I understand that there's a rhyme and a reason for it. We have to. Unfortunately.
It's so funny how some women will say, I would never sleep with a gay man, or I would never sleep with a bisexual man. And the tea is, honey, you probably already have. You just didn't know it. Right. Because there's a lot of men who just are on the DL or just private. They don't feel the need to justify telling you that they like both if they're just sleeping with you. But if you get into a serious relationship, then maybe they will share their full story. But everybody has the right to be private.
Absolutely. And
especially if you just, you know, if y'all both just out at the club drinking shots and y'all having a good time, and then y'all decide the vibe is good and y'all decide to take it to the next level, and you have sex, and then you speak to each other the next day. Honey, you don't know if he was bisexual or not. Because it could have been Franco. Because let me tell you right now, if I would have had a couple of drinks and I met Franco, child, I think me and Franco.
You were so funny. I mean, it's such a good compliment, but it's also too that I would be flirting with you at the club.
Yeah, I would totally be flirting with you, okay? And you would totally be my victim. You would totally be my victim. And that's all I'm saying. I'm thinking a lot of ladies will say that. And then that's the judgment. Okay, so let's say you know that the person is bisexual and you're just out having fun. Could that same experience, you know how women say, oh, I had this college experience. Well, would they ever have a bisexual experience with, like you? Did you find yourself in those situations with straight women? When you met a straight woman and you told her you were bi, did you become an experiment for her?
I think I probably was and not even realized it. And to be perfectly honest, not normally, because I think it's just one of those things that usually when the chemistry is right and when you are flirting and it seems authentic, it doesn't seem like it's forced or disingenuine, then you kind of just go with the flow and you really just appreciate, you know, the person and the energy, and then you see what happens. I mean, I definitely think I flirt probably with a lot of my girlfriends that are just platonic girlfriends, and they, you know, probably do think when we're out, sometimes we hold hands, like, you know, I try to be a gentleman, not always, but I try. And so it looks like we could be a couple, but then the same thing goes with maybe some of my guy friends, you know, like just like a flirty, touchy person within reason. I mean, I know myself when I don't want to be like, when I don't feel the right chemistry or the right vibe from somebody and they're being touchy and pushy, I'm like, leave me the fuck alone. Like, I know how to read, you know, and that's, you know, I've definitely been in situations where it's gone both ways. You know, some girls are like, okay, no, I don't think so. And from their perspective, I don't fault them. I'm not trying to change somebody's views, and I'm not going to feel bad about somebody not being interested because of that. Because the same way goes, I'm not into long-haired guys. Okay. So I'm not attracted to long-haired guys. I don't really go for a guy that looks like myself.
Right.
So if somebody isn't feeling it, they aren't feeling it. And same with, you know, woman, if they're not feeling it because of that reason, well, maybe that's a shame, but they're entitled to feel it whatever way they want, and I don't care, and I'm not bitter about it because I'm very happy in my own skin.
Last question I want to ask, because people love to throw the Bible.
Oh, yeah.
Everything. And so, again, this is my perspective. My thing is, there is no perfect human being. We are all sinning. We are all doing something that God does not like. All of us.
Yes.
So I don't have time to be judging what you're doing because I need to worry about my own sins and where my soul going to. So I'm just going to mind my business on that and let everybody just be. Now, yes, I'm not saying that I don't judge people, but I'm just saying we need to pick and choose what we're going to really judge on. I'd rather judge on somebody murdering folks, somebody raping folks, you know, I'd rather judge on something that is just truly, you know, harmful to society and harmful to others. Then I'm not going to judge on who people decide that they want to love. Like, love is such a positive thing. Why make it a negative? And at the end of the day, God is going to sort all of us out. Okay. Yeah. So, you know, what I want to say to a lot of people who want to throw the Bible, you know, remember, he's looking at you. While you busy looking at everybody else, he's looking at you. So you need to kind of focus more on yourself so that at the end of the day, when he comes talking to you, he's going to be like, all right, so, you know, Miss Charlotte Burley, this is what you've been doing. What I'm going to say? Well, Franko, he bisexual guy. You know? I'll be like, I ain't talking about Franko. I'm talking about you, Miss Charlotte Burley. So here's your sense. So I wish people would just kind of get that a little bit more. So what's your take on the whole people who want to throw homosexuality into hell, the pits of hell?
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad. I think I've gotten more sensitive to it as I've gotten older because I did really grow up Catholic, and I lucked out where it was more important to my grandparents than it was to my parents. So my parents look at it as exactly what you said. Just be a good person. You don't have to go to church every week. I mean, ideally you should if it's really that maybe making ourselves centered and realizing like just be a good person, and those morals come through any type of religion. So when it comes to homosexuality in the Bible, I never really even thought anything of it. I just kind of said, well, Jesus is always going to forgive your sins if you aren't an evil person. Like if you genuinely feel guilty when you sin. So like, okay, I feel guilty when I have, this is just an example, when I have premarital sex.
Okay, right.
But everybody is going to do whatever they're going to do. And that's really not a great example, but I feel guilty when I am being real with somebody and it hurts their feelings. Mm-hmm. But I just, I do think that like everybody's gonna sin, and same with like relationships. And I mean, I feel very, 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 very fortunate that I was confident enough to take that leap of faith and dive into being true to myself, being bisexual or being gay or being, I don't know, like having sex before marriage, because there's certain things in life, you really want to like live and learn and experiment. And if it's not harming anyone, then I think that everybody should do whatever makes them feel happy.
Yeah.
If it's not harming anyone.
If it's not harming anyone, that's what I'm saying. Let everybody just mind their own business. And, if you want to be private, you be private. Like I said, Niecy Nash said, I'm not on the down low. I'm just sexually fluid, and she didn't know any explanation. As far as
right.
Andrew Gilliam, I think for him, it's more about politics and the scandal, how he was outed, if you will. He had no choice but to say, and I don't know if he's saying he's bisexual because he said he doesn't identify himself as gay.
Right.
He has a wife, he has kids, his wife knows. So as long as his wife is not complaining, who are we to complain? They happy, so that's their business, But yeah, I wish I could have had another guy on here, to be honest. I really wish I could have had an African-American male. And but it was really hard to find anyone that wanted to talk publicly, and I had to respect, their privacy, because African American and gay is already two, double standards that you can't even deal with.
I know, and I have one of my business partners. He's African American gay, and I love learning about his experience because he does keep me in check. He does keep me in check. I think the only thing is he's so open to like me being bisexual, but like, he can't really relate when I talk about like my ex-girlfriends, and he's like, well, like we don't need to get into too much detail on that. Not to say that he isn't there to be a good friend and a good business partner, but it's just funny. Like, I think that's kind of why, like, the last thing I will touch on is never really feeling like I could fit into any group, because bisexuality is something I find unique. I find it more used as like a transitional phase, or it's more of like, oh, well, I did that like once, or I dabbled with that. I actually really am straight or gay. So I never really felt like I fit in to either of those communities because it doesn't seem as common. And I could just be reading between the lines from my experience, and maybe somebody else has a different experience.
Now, when you said your friend checks you, what does he check you on?
Oh yeah, Andrew, he keeps me in check where he's like, well, it's easy for you because, you're so confident and you come from like, a middle class Caucasian family, and that our, education wasn't a problem to obtain. Whether that be financially, I was given a little bit of help, or even you just like have an acceptance of already like having white privilege. So being gay, he's like, you want to play the game, or bisexual, you want to play the game of, oh, it was hard for me. And I said, no, it really wasn't hard for me at all. I find that I feel blessed, but then I also feel like being in that situation, I really want to help others that were not in the same circumstances. Because of those blessings, I don't feel like I have to do something, or I'm striving to find like a group or a community to help and like give back, because when you are blessed and you are given those things of privilege, you really need to like keep yourself in check and be humble.
Yeah. So it's funny that he's checking your white privilege with your sexuality, having the freedom to be considered bisexual, because you can be whatever because of the privilege, where him being a Black gay male, it's one, being Black, and then being gay is like, he's dealing with a double prejudice, a double judgment. So I guess it is hard for him to see you kind of have your cake and eat it too, and not really be judged harshly. Are you judged harshly?
If I was, I don't ever recall. So I'm going to say no. And I think it also has a lot to do with my parents were just like, you're not doing drugs, and you finish university and you have a job and sleep with whoever you want. Just obviously be safe,
Right.
And like, I feel like, God, like that is so rare from hearing stories. And that just goes to show you, like, I don't really like to talk about that, because I find it like, oh, somebody will give you like, oh, it must be nice, and I don't disagree with you. I feel like that is annoying if I was on the other side, or if I was on the flip side where it was really difficult and I had to like remove myself from my family.
Right. Okay, this is the last question, because you just said something that really hit home. Being safe. That's another stereotype, another prejudice, that people who are gay or bisexual somehow is STD infested.
Yeah.
Not safe, that they're, HIV positive, that, that is like one of the biggest warning signs, is like, oh, I don't want to catch anything. When heterosexuals who are out here sleeping with Tom, Dick, and Harry every freaking week, and nobody seems to put that same stigma on them. But as soon as you talk about gay or bisexual, it's like, oh, it's not safe to sleep with them. I don't want to catch anything.
Right. And I find it really, I actually totally, I can only give my experience where, knowing that having like an assortment of options, I am very careful, and I do use protection, or I was on PrEP at one point, which is an anti-HIV, it's to prevent HIV contraction. And then I found myself like going in like dry spells where I'm just like not being intimate with anybody. And I find it like, okay, well, if I am, I gotta just use protection. And I get, every time I go to my doctor, I get everything done. And sometimes it's a little bit like of overkill, but then you also have to realize it's never overkill. If it's part of your health, you want to always be on top of it.
Yeah. And that's for anything, straight or gay. That's for anything.
Yeah.
I just wanted to break that stereotype too, that, you know, that, I mean, I guess because you're greedy people and you're so sexy, you can't have more. They feel like you're just out there willy-nilly, not thinking and not thinking about your own health, but you are. You're just like anybody else. If you care about yourself, if you love yourself, if you have self-love, you're going to protect yourself.
And I think the reason I am overly protecting myself is because that is a common stereotype. And I think when you hear those things, you're like, whoa, 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 that's not me at all, remotely. And I'm going to prove to you for my own self and for yours to like break that stereotype.
Uh-huh. Okay. Well, if there's anything that you would like to say to, like, this is your chance. If there's any one thing you would like to just, you know, be known, please share it.
I would say that, you know, being a bisexual male is such a blessing and a curse, because you have this, you know, great life that you can be able to really have like so many different options and different experiences. But then the curse is, you know, nobody really believes you or nobody takes it seriously. So you're either constantly trying to prove something to somebody, or you're like me and you're just like, whatever, you can make your and it doesn't bother me. I mean, nothing. I think my advice is, if you are in this situation as a bisexual male or a fluid or pansexual male, just go with the flow and let people make their judgments, and, you know, don't try to convince anybody.
I like that piece of advice. Well, thank you so much. This has been very good for me. I love getting all the juicies, and you've been giving me all of it, so I love it. This was really good. I think with everything that's going on today, people are very curious, and it's just good to have somebody to just share it and be open. So again, thank you for being so transparent, because you never know who is watching and they needed to hear it and see it. So you probably have blessed someone who may be confused out there and is ready to kind of be themselves, and now they know that they're not alone. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you. And I had so much fun talking with you. I'm really happy we did this.